Well, it's the end of 2025, and we are heading into a transition period, and it's very important that you understand the key ideas that will escort you into a successful 2026. This is a great show today, and of course, I've got my special guest, Mr. John Fullerton. He's with us and adds a tremendous dimension, but let's begin with this. John, are you with me on this?
I'm here with you, Lynn.
All right. You know, back in the day, about 1995, 96, Peter Drucker, who was at the time perceived as maybe the top one or two most intelligent and impactful business guru. And he said at that time, only three things matter: marketing, innovation, and culture. Those three words, all right? So as you get up every day and you try to figure out what should I be focusing on at the office and so on, you start with marketing, innovation, and culture. But now, and each one of these little black squares right here are kind of very functional and sturdy and stiff, and they hold each other up. And I think they're reasonably good symbols of marketing, innovation, and culture, right? All of them kind of stack on each other, support each other, and so on. It's not a bad symbol for that. But right here on top, obviously, we have something very, very different. Doesn't really fit into this at all.
And what the heck is that, Lynn?
Well, since it can be squeezed and moved, and it's cozy, and it's everything that this is not, right? This represents and symbolizes emotion. Emotion in the office, emotion in interacting with people, dealing with your own emotions while you're working, and so on. And that's what we're going to talk about the first section of our show.
Can I see that?
Sure, absolutely.
Let me see that. So
absolutely,
this is kind of the structure.
Yes.
In the three parts, well, of our business.
Yes.
So, yeah, how can we fit emotions into the business?
Yeah, and that is a big question. That's a question.
Well, I think I can answer, right? Oh, there we go. What happened to that? Oh,
Okay.
Is that how we treat our feelings?
Hopefully not. On the other hand, I've seen evidence of that many, many times.
Oh, let's try and make them feel a little happier.
There we go. There we go. So tell me, what are your thoughts about and what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just kind of starting their career and they're a little nervous about the job that they've been offered and so on? And what would you answer if he or she said, do I allow my emotions to show? How do I deal if I get angry or upset? What's appropriate for me? And do I have to go home every day sad and unhappy that it wasn't a great day for me? Or what? How should I handle that, John?
You know, that's tough. You know, I studied a little psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. And, but I've had a lot of experience in business. And of course, I'm always working with my kids and everybody else. And we're always trying to figure out the best ways that we can balance emotions and just productivity, right? And being successful in life. And so, but the emotions are a very, very important part of the entire equation because, a lot of times we look at things so rationally and we think that we're very logical and scientific about things. But
following procedures.
Exactly. Well, we do have to have those things. But on the other hand, sometimes we miss the fact that, rational thought and rational explanations, we think that they're all logical and they must be true and things like that. But in fact, oftentimes we make rationalizations or rational arguments, and really they're nothing more than a justification for the way we feel things should be, right, or what we feel is right.
That is so true. And by the way, we feel differently from day to day or from when we're around certain kinds of people that have different energy and so on. And we like him, but we don't like him so much and so on. It really is difficult. And so is the solution, in your opinion, we'll just go further on this, to kind of nullify it and just hold everything in? Or is there some way that you can be a little more yourself without causing problems?
Well, of course, we do have to be sensitive to other people's feelings when we're expressing our own feelings. And especially to, of course, when we're working for our employer, to be respectful of them as well. But no, we should express our feelings, but to try and do it in a way that is going to be productive and not counterproductive to both ourselves and to our organizations.
Yes.
So we do need to talk, if we feel like things are not right. Because usually, if there's trouble downstream, it's because there's a break in the dam upstream. It's not really about managing emotions. It's about managing procedures and policies to make sure that those emotions aren't triggered.
Yeah.
To try and provide a comfortable environment where people can feel free to express themselves as well, and but also feel that their needs are not being ignored or unmet.
Yes, yes. It's a kind of a middle ground type of thing. And, certain personalities aren't prone to do that. Many are, but many are not. And in fact, they've been brought up their whole life and told, I love you because you're aggressive or you state your feelings, and people who are 10, 12, 15, whatever, they hear this kind of thing and it becomes woven into their fabric and their belief system. And so they're just being themselves when the boss is sitting in the room and this person who's just got hired 4 days ago blurts out some comment that would normally be out of inappropriate. So yeah, but I want to flip the script for a second. What if working in general can be how do I say it? A catalyst for deep personal transformation. In other words, become a better person, not struggling to be the person that I really am, or at least my mother told me I was, and I don't really fit here, so I'll just kind of shut up and whatever. But isn't there a way to take the friction that we know kind of floats around in the air, it's going on or whatever, and figure out a way to have that be a catalyst, I can't think of a better word, and really examine yourself. I knew somebody in various corporate positions, but I knew one that tended to be aggressive and angry, easily angered. And so he would come and talk to me quite often about how this guy's a jerk and so is an idiot and why do we have to do what he says and all that. And I finally, and I'd read some material, this didn't just come to me intuitively, and I said, what do you think, if anything, but what do you think you're doing that is leading to this abrasion or abrasiveness? What role are you playing in this? And the answer, he couldn't answer it initially. I mean, it really took some time for him to say, you mean I'm part of the problem? Is that what you're implying?
That's a big part of the problem, actually, is that people don't want to see that their own errors or mistakes and to project on other people. So it is important to try and help people to find ways, first of all, to be in the best environment and the best position within the structure that is going to be the most productive and the most comfortable for them and for the other people who have to interact with them. But I think that we all need to take a quick look in the mirror every time we start to look at others people and starting to castigate, but also to focus instead of on, bad people or thinking that certain people are bad or it's their problem or things like that. But, all people do bad things sometimes, so that we can maybe focus on the specific outcome or the specific behavior that is the issue instead of saying this person is this way, but this person happens to be doing something that I'm concerned about, to try and reframe that in a way that it's more comfortable for us to really focus on the problem instead of trying to blame others.
What do you think the big picture is? Do you think that people mature as they go through their career and so on and change in different ways, communicate maybe more tactfully or whatever? Or do you just say, well, you're not a fit here. Go find some other organization where people are encouraged, not to physically hit each other, of course, but to really get it out there and say what you really mean. And you're going to hear other things the other way, but at least we get it all out and we all know what the heck's going on. Now, there are companies like that.
Yeah, certain ones. Of course, every company has its own culture, so to speak, right? And a lot of that, though, is determined primarily by the owner and the senior management.
And their personal style themselves.
Exactly.
And I got to this point, and I'm the CEO because I told people what I really thought. They trusted me, and they gave me $1 million to build the company. Whatever, that kind of thing.
Lynn, I'd like to ask you, we were talking about the Marshall Rosenberg's and his feelings-need link, the link between needs and feelings. And he was actually the founder, I looked up, he was the founder of nonviolent communication and how we can use the types of training that he used in order to really facilitate a better environment for the workforce and for our organization.
I got it.
So, if morale is low, what kind of unmet needs are most often hiding beneath the surface? What do you think are most of those kinds of things that are issues that are the feelings that matter the most?
I think that the vision of the future is the critical catalyst. Everybody kind of drops their personal baggage and starts focusing on the picture of the future, and we're all going to go there together, and we're going to get there. It doesn't matter whether you like me or you don't like me. We're going to achieve something really exciting if we just hang in there tight and try to ignore all the other problems individuals have, focus on some kind of an organizational vision.
Right. So it turns out that it isn't about fixing feelings. It's about fixing the workplace, right?
Right. And then everything feels better after we accomplish at least some of the goals that have been laid there in front of us. Well, John, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your incredible background. You've got a lot to share. I just want to end on this one note. I believe that friction and anxiety and even depression can be transformed, and human beings can transform even under the pressure of daily work, and they can become the person that they're capable of becoming, but they sometimes have to go through the crap that we're alluding to right now. Don't you agree?
That's right. Actually, people have to be able to feel free to be able to express their concerns, because if we don't know what's wrong, how are we going to fix it?
Yeah, exactly right. On the other hand, I've seen leaders just say, I'm not going to worry about that. Let's drop that. Let's get on to other more productive activities that we can all jump into that sandbox together. Well, John, thank you so very much. We'll talk to you again about these incredible topics that are so relevant to us every single day. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. WowBiz Nebraska will be back in just a couple seconds with not one, but two promotional sponsors. Stay tuned. Well, this week on WowBiz Nebraska, we have not one, but two promotional sponsors. I'm excited to share these organizations with you, and I hope that you'll take a close look at getting involved with them. The very first one is Nebraska Now. Nebraska Now is an exciting company. It takes those first three syllables, the first three letters in the first syllable, Nebraska, and it enables any of the members, and that's what this is a membership kind of organization. Anybody can join Nebraska Now. They're expected to come to meetings on a monthly basis, but most importantly, to help each other succeed. And I know that's not an easy thing to do. That can sometimes be a bit of a cliche, but we're going to make that happen. There'll be speakers from all sectors of Omaha and Nebraska's businesses. But most importantly is that I personally will be sitting down with every member of Nebraska Now at least once a month and spending some time talking about the vast array of things that could be going well or could be going not so well. So having me, a professional who's been working for over 35, 40 years now, I guess, and helping companies transform themselves, be more responsive, create more value, and move perhaps into a different sector, sometimes transforming an entire industry. Now, the people that I've worked with in the past didn't think along those lines, but believe me, if I've worked with them for some time, they'll go, we had no idea that we could do this. And that's exactly the response you'll have when you attend meetings and spend personal time with me, Lynn Hinderaker, on Nebraska Now. So give that some thought. Find Nebraska Now on the web, and I know you'll enjoy involvement on a long-term basis. Now, our second promotional sponsor for WowBiz Nebraska, a fascinating company built around a mega trend. Now, when you're hooked up with a trend, sales come much easier. So the Urban Natural, it's called the Urban Natural Brain Trust, as you probably saw just a second ago. So we're expecting bright people from a number of industries, whether it's retail, whatever, to take advantage of this word. This word urban implies change and movement and urbanity and city, and of course natural is organic and green. So when you pull those things together, whether it's your product, your store, even the clothing that you're wearing, if you're an urban natural person, believe me, you're going somewhere right here in the state of Nebraska. It'll be a privilege. Believe me, you will not forget your experience participating with and becoming a member of the Urban Natural Brain Trust. Brain Trust. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. I'll see you at both organizational memberships and group activities. It'll be an excellent opportunity for all of you and your employees as well. Thank you so much. Well, we are back with WowBiz Nebraska, and there's so many things happening. We're at this powerful juncture. Some people fade back and they say, oh, it's the end of December, here comes January. I don't know, people expect me to do something special. I don't have any clue what specialness would be in January, but hey, I guess we're there, so we better make the most of it. The situation is fairly severe, as a matter of fact. Only 10%, here's just one interesting statistic. There are many, but this one here, only 10% of all companies anywhere grow faster than the GNP, the gross national product of our country. As you know, it often or typically grows. Maybe if it grows 10%, that means that all the companies, we'll say here in Nebraska, also, generally speaking, of course, they also grow about 10%. They typically don't grow any faster than the economy, although that's what they would like to do. It doesn't feel very exciting to just kind of follow the state or the country, and it's evolving this way. So you raise the prices on this and that, and pretty soon you're right there in their level. But you aren't exceeding, you're not outgrowing the number that is driving and defining where the country and the state of Nebraska is going. And of course, the state of Nebraska has its own set of problems because we have a major sector, manufacturing in particular, that just can't get enough employees. They can't get it. We need 20,000 more employees here in Nebraska. You've heard me mention this before. Just for all these different manufacturing plants and distribution centers, for them to be working at maximal performance. They can't do that. So the entire state is pulled down, whether we like it or not. And then, of course, we have the academic side. UNL, as you know, has been struggling to stay in the championship in the areas of academic scholarship. I think they're at 152 on a list of 152 universities, believe it or not. So that's a real issue at that level with the young professionals. So those young professionals are maybe coming to Lincoln, maybe not, depending on what I just mentioned. And then, of course, we have the hourly workers. They're putting in 15, 18, maybe they're getting $20 an hour. But they're not going to the communities around the state because of affordability. They can't find a home that they're happy with, and so on. So we have some very serious problems here in the state of Nebraska that are impacting the employers, big and small. But nevertheless, the point of all this is we have to compensate somehow. We don't just go, oh, well, business is down because the economy's down. Nobody knows what to do. I'm just going to hang out and go home early. Whatever it is, this is the time to be bold. This is the time. You've heard this message before. And why? Because nobody else is bold. And when you step forward, you can easily grab a portion of the market. So it's really a kind of a big deal, a big opportunity. And a lot of people just don't realize the size of the opportunity that's lying in front of them right now. Now, for instance, and we would begin, somebody says, what are you talking about here? Give me some specifics, okay? Right off the bat, just about anybody does not know. Most companies do not know what their customer thinks of them. They just don't know. Maybe years ago, somebody did some research, but that was it. And it's so interesting because this is a standard, activity. But if you have a company maybe just with 15, 20, 25 employees or whatever, most of the time companies like you are not utilizing researchers or some form of customer interviews to find out what do people really think about us. And the faster you learn that information, and then it's exciting, right? Then you have meetings just like this and you say, all right, this is what we learned. Some good stuff over here, really pleased. But over here, oh my God, I had no idea that they thought that and this and that. And our distribution's slow. People think that the salespeople and the workers are not very good communicators, and therefore there's kind of a little bit of an edge between the two organizations. All kinds of things. Another person says, well, we've been around 30 years. We should just automatically get the business. Why do we have to work hard at it and prove that we're good when we know we're good, right? Well, obviously the researchers have gone out and said, well, I just wanted to say, when we asked them who's really good in your industry or in your category, it looks like 1, 2, 3, looks like you're on the number 4. You're number 4. And there's a real quietude around the table. So the very first thing anybody should do in late December or January, where we're at right now, is commission somebody to go out and talk to their customers. Secondly, very few organizations have a strategic plan. When you've been out and do all the research, you're equipped. You're finally equipped to say, oh, well, we can create value by doing this, or they said we could do more of that. So let's get this organized here, and let's reallocate money in all these categories, and month by month by month, right? And so we have a plan, and it's a plan that we meet maybe every 2 months and go over the plan and argue about it and say what's good, what's bad, and all that. So this is how companies that succeed operate, and yet so many companies, as I mentioned earlier, don't do very much. Now let's talk about the advertising side. A lot of small businesses are, I don't want to say melancholy, but they're skeptical about advertising. They think they're too small to spend much money, so whatever they have the opportunity to get in some kind of a directory or a phone book or some kind of a inexpensive piece that's handed out at a grocery store, whatever it is. And these are the people that don't know anything about marketing and advertising. They would tell you that right off the bat. It's just common sense. There's our picture, there's our logo, here's 4 or 5 things that we do for people, and our address and phone number. All right, that's it. Boom. We've done our job. If they don't come, right? And this is how everybody thinks. I'm talking about 300 different businesses, page after page after page, really look at their business and their inability to attract people to their company that way, just like that. So eventually people start nibbling around the edges. Can we do something different? Da 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 da. What does the research tell us, boss? What can we learn from that? Well, the research tells all of us that seeing your customer, or a prototype of your customer, man or a woman, whatever, enjoying your product. This is the key. This is the key thing, right? They've got to be happily consuming your product and service. Now, if you have a kind of a clever line or something that's particularly interesting as well, but the key idea is the image of human beings enjoying your product and service. I've got an example here. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to work with fashion cleaners here in Omaha, Nebraska. And once again, they were prone to do exactly what everybody else does, what I just described. There's their logo. Here's a couple of bullet points. Come see us. We have a sale every Thursday. Whatever, right? That nobody cares, nobody knows about. I'm going to lift up this big poster. This poster was a how would I say it? It was a 14 by 48 billboard on 480. On 480. Here we are. All right. So now we see human beings, not discussions about our products are guaranteed and every evening we'll have a product delivered to you, whatever it is. They're talking about their service, but here we're talking about their human beings. Now the word fashion obviously is a very symbol or very related to passion, right? So people are having wine or a barbecue or something like that. They're spilling the sauce onto their shirts or pants or whatever it is. And of course, then they're going to have to go to fashion cleaners or some other dry cleaners to take care of it. Now, this is an award-winning ad. It's not a product positioning, all right? They can do that as well, but that's what everybody sees. That's the next thing. You have to be different, right? You have to differentiate yourself. You don't want to do the same thing all the other dry cleaners are doing, and as if they're doing anything, all right? So this was an award-winning ad. It quadrupled traffic at this particular store near the downtown area. As people went around 80 and 480 heading into the downtown area, there was this board, and people couldn't believe how clever it was, eye-catching, and they had people lined up, standing on the sidewalk to give them their clothes and have them dry cleaned and so on. So it's a very interesting thing. Don't anybody ever say advertising doesn't work. Bland, mediocre advertising doesn't work. And that's unfortunately what dominates the whole category. And so when somebody comes around and says, hey, I know something. I know how to connect. Let me give you another quick example. We have 2 more minutes here in our show, and thank you for watching us here in WowBiz, Nebraska. You might know about a restaurant, very nice restaurant on 72nd Street called McAllister's. It's kind of a deli, upscale deli kind of a restaurant, very well appointed inside. You order at the front, but then you sit down, they bring you the food afterwards. Very nice place and kind of medium priced. But they're not really getting the traffic. And by the way, there are many restaurants right now that are not getting the traffic they'd like to see, and they are completely mystified. What are we going to do? So here's an idea. McAllister's is very similar. The first 2 letters are similar to McDonald's. Yeah, interesting point. So what if we could relate the two in some kind of a clever, attractive, interesting way? What if we had a big giant billboard on the side of a truck or something like that, and they're driving around town and so on, like maybe on the side of a trailer, and it would say, McDonald's without kids. McDonald's without kids. Kids not allowed. That's what it says. McDonald's, kids not allowed. McAllister's, right? It's McDonald's that, but kids are not allowed. And so there's right underneath it, McAllister's, the same MC that you saw right above it, McAllister's, and then down at the very bottom, no toys allowed. So it's like McDonald's without kids, toys not allowed, McAllister's, all right, right there on 72nd Street. So people will say, well, MC, that's McDonald's, but I see McAllister's, and oh, yeah, and toys not allowed, that's a little bit humorous, interesting. That's how it happens, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lynn Hinderaker with WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you for watching us. We had a lot today. We'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.